dear Minister Ahmetai, dear Head of the EU Office and the EU Special Representative Natalia Apostolova, honourable members of Parliament, dear participants of the 2017 Week of Women. My name, as many of you know, is Ulrike Lunacek. I'm Vice President of this Parliament in charge of the Western Balkans. I'm a member of this Parliament for Austria and for the Greens, and I have been for almost 8 years now the rapporteur for Kosovo in this European Parliament. I would have loved to be with you today, but simply I can't. So I'm glad I can at least send you this video message and congratulate you for this Week of Women. Because it continues this year. It was, as I heard, started as a pilot project by the National Democratic Institute in 2012. And I'm also happy to hear that for the first time this year men are participating. Because, you know, as women, as much as we need to stand together, support each other, we also need allies among men. So it's good that they're also there and listening and participating. Now, the overarching theme of 2017 is deciphering EU integration. Be sure, women do play and should play a vital role in Kosovo's path to become an EU member. Because the future of the Western Balkans and Kosovo among those 6 countries lies in Europe, in the European Union. Yes, I know, you might say we've heard this sentence a lot of times, and I know that also sometimes you feel this is frustrating because things are not moving as fast and there hardly is or seems anything to be moving forward. But let me tell you, last year the Stabilization and Association Agreement entered into force, and it's supposed to bring jobs, more social and economic options and security, and especially for women. But of course, Kosovo politicians need to play their part. Because EU money alone doesn't create jobs. You need to plan it, you need to invest, you need to see where to invest, and their investment in women, education and jobs really is essential. And as I already said, not just jobs, we also need a good educational and health system, also in Kosovo. And the health system needs to include sexual and reproductive health and rights for women. From this European Parliament, I can tell you that we, together with the other 2 EU institutions, Commission and Council, we are convinced and working on Kosovo's path to EU accession. Things are moving slowly, I know, but they are moving. For example, apart from the SAA, Kosovo now can also participate in EU programs. But on that, the Kosovo government needs to identify which programs your country wants to participate in and make these programs work for Kosovo, women and men. And another positive note, just recently, Bangladesh has now recognized Kosovo being the 114th country of the United Nations recognizing. I hope there will be further steps forward in that way, also from among the 5 non-recognizers in the EU. And the other thing I know that all of you care a lot about and are annoyed that you don't yet have the freedom to travel without visas to EU member states. It's visa liberalization. And on that I have been very clear. The Kosovo Assembly has to ratify the border demarcation agreement with Montenegro. That is, together with the high-level track record of organized crime and corruption, the 2 remaining criteria that Kosovo needs to fulfill. And that is important, so please do that as soon as possible so we can work here to make then clear that Kosovo will get the green light for visa for travel for your citizens, as the other countries in the region have. Of course, there are also other issues that need to be tackled. Employment, health, education are ranked as top priority issues among Kosovo citizens, and particularly they are of importance to women, young women and children and youth in general. And there are still structural challenges that hamper the implementation of the law on gender equality that you have in Kosovo, and a law that the European Parliament welcomed last year. Because women also need to form alliances among themselves. There have to be mentoring schemes, older ones, more experienced ones, supporting younger ones, and the support of each other. And Kosovo authorities need to address gender mainstreaming as a priority and gender budgeting as well, and ensure that governing bodies and authorities lead by example. Each ministry, each company in Kosovo should present annual scores of what has been done and achieved for the advancement of women in the institution, in the company, or also in municipalities. And this is not just about career schemes, about empowerment of women. This is also, for example, about good childcare facilities being offered to women and men, to parents, to be able to put their children there and go to work in the meanwhile. That will especially help women because they're still, in Kosovo, as we all know, underrepresented in high-level positions. But in general, there's a low rate of employment in Kosovo for women. But being economically independent is so important for women to live a fulfilled life. So I hope programs like this Week of Women will also encourage women to apply for jobs and seek a career. And I'm convinced that this Week of Women that you're having now will be an empowering instrument to that aim. Another important issue, property rights for women have to, including inheritance rights, need to be secured. And of course, violence against women has to be eradicated in the domestic sphere and in the public sphere. I welcome the adoption of a national strategy against domestic violence, but it needs full implementation and it needs to encourage women to speak up and break the silence. Domestic violence is not a petty offense. It is a crime and has to be seen, reported and sentenced as such. And, you know, I know what I'm talking about. I was at the end of the 1970s, beginning of the 1980s, long time ago. I was one of the co-founders of the first shelter for battered women and their children in a very Catholic, very traditional, conservative part of Austria, in the Tyrol in Innsbruck. And we managed to do it, negotiating with a very conservative part of the government there. And these shelters that are measures for women that are needed more and more in Kosovo as well, and they should be publicly financed. Last but not least, I wish to congratulate you on another successful year of fighting for gender equality, and I wish you fruitful and empowering discussions and lots of positive change until next year's Week of Women. Bye-bye, all the best, goodbye.